Thank you all. Thank you very much, everyone, especially those of you who came this evening. This is kind of a ludicrously more crowded room than I might have envisioned. And also thank you to the Agape Latte crowd that invited us to come and speak to you today, which when they invited us, we kind of did a little bit of a double take.
We weren't sure they knew who we were.
Yeah. We thought they might have mistaken us for some other married couple of professors of religious studies on campus. But we're grateful for the opportunity to be here today. Real quickly, this didn't work from far away, but I just want to, okay, it's not going to work from really close either.
Let me see, I can point it more directly.
Yeah, thanks. That'd be,
I can
look.
make it work.
Awesome. Awesome. So that's actually why I married her, is because when I can't make things work, she can. And let that be a lesson to you about how to get married in life.
You're so cute.
So we were asked to come and tell some stories. And so we're going to tell stories about faith. We're going to tell stories about family. We've got kind of a set list here. So we're going to pass this back and forth and auction it off at the end of the night. And some of it's just about individual choices and individual discovery and what it means to be the person that maybe you would like to be. And so it's exciting to see so many people here that maybe want to hear our story. So we'll start with maybe a little bit about who we are, and that's moment number 2 on there. Yeah, skip right over there to this fabulous picture. A story of who we are and how we met and who our kids are. Our kids were kind enough to come along and be with us today. That's our son Zion and our daughter Liel.
They're 11 and 9.
11 and 9. 11 and 9, we almost got there. Do you want to tell them how we met?
We met at a birthday party. It's true. But more broadly, we met in graduate school when we were starting our PhDs in religious studies. And it was at a birthday party also.
It was at a birthday party. I managed to embarrass myself.
Actually, about my tattoo.
3-4 times. We're not going to cover that ground tonight. It's gonna be a mystery for all of you. But I managed to embarrass myself in multiple ways. Jovi just managed to be awesome during that event. So we got our PhDs in religious studies together. And anything about the kids? When we got them, that sort of thing? I mean, they were sort of dropped off by the store.
We got them later, mostly later, actually.
George dropped me off in 2004.
Is that right? Yeah. Okay. 2004. I can't always remember. That's why I keep them around. To be honest.
They're good kids.
They are. And so, we were asked to come and talk tonight about what it means to think about questions of sort of a faith journey. And we're kind of unusual people in our own ways. We kind of do things sort of differently. And we thought it would be perhaps interesting to many of our students to talk about our tattoos, because frequently our students ask us why we have the tattoos and how they might have come about. And since, well, in fairness, you're paying us for our time, you're not really paying us to talk about tattoos. So I usually kind of deflect those questions in a number of ways. But tonight it's kind of a free thing. But our tattoos nevertheless reference kind of how we love one another, how we love our kids, how we understand the world around us, how we commit ourselves to the universe in pretty meaningful and profound ways. At least we think those ways are meaningful and profound. So we want to talk about those ways. How do we appreciate what it means to be a human being in this world? And what do our tattoos say about how we personally see what it means to act rightly in the world, to be in communion with others in the world, and how to care for our family here in the world. So we're going to try to do that because the world around us is, and this might be unfair, I don't know that I speak for my wife. For me personally, the world around us, it sometimes appears kind of without meaning. and we have to build the meaning. We have to make the meaning. We have to invest ourselves in the world that we live in to make it a meaningful and good world, a powerful and beautiful and rich place to be. And for me as a teacher, I hope that maybe that comes across.
I'm a little mixed on that one.
That's a marriage, though.
Yeah, I would say the meaning is often there, but you have to find it. Are you going to join us too?
You have to build the meaning.
That's what your dad
That's
just
what I
said.
said.
No, I said I agree with you.
Oh, you agree?
Good.
Okay.
Good. I have at least 25% support in the family. So we're going to start. We're going to kind of alternate. We're going to take turns. I mean, I've done most of the talking right now, and I'm going to turn it over to my wife here in a moment. She's going to do a little bit of talking, and we're just going to switch back and forth. And just to introduce the story she has to tell, it fits within this Lasallian community that we're a part of. This idea that we are building the world and making it a better place with our own lives in it. That it's not something that someone else is going to solve for us, but that we're actually out there and a part of it and participating in it. And so she's going to tell a little bit of story about her very first tattoo. It's your very first.
No, actually, it was the second.
Very second tattoo. She's going to tell a story about her very second tattoo.
The first one doesn't come into the story.
Yeah. Forget there was a first tattoo. Her second tattoo, and what that has to say about making the world a bigger, better, more beautiful, and interesting place.
Okay, so the first tattoo has been partially obscured in its years. So you get to see a really old picture of us, which is the best picture we could find of what the second tattoo, looked like in its original form. This is us at our friend's wedding.
We were never that red, by the way.
That was after too much.
That's a projector
too
issue.
much time in the tanning bed. You can't even really see the tattoo. Oh well.
Oh, you want me to go point at it? Or?
No, I mean you can see it. You just can't see it, like at least from my angle.
It's that armband
It's the
on her
armband.
upper right arm.
Well, it's the only thing that it could be, but you can't tell what it is. This is like, my story is getting worse by the minute. Okay, but I'll try. We'll make it. Okay, so I'll tell you what it is. What that is it's Hebrew letters, and but it's not Hebrew. So here's the story of that. The story is that I am a Peace Corps baby. In fact, I'm a Peace Corps grandbaby also. When the Peace Corps was first started in the 60s, my grandparents joined immediately. They were adults. My mom was 12, I guess, and she had a sister. And so they couldn't be normal volunteers. So my grandfather was actually he was a teacher and a principal, and they put him in charge of training teachers. They sent them to Nigeria to live, and my grandfather trained all the Peace Corps volunteers in Nigeria, basically. And then when my mom grew up and married my dad, they also went to the Peace Corps. My mom had, I guess.
How old were they?
My parents?
Yeah.
They were like y'all's age, because they went right out of college. So they were 21 when they went to the Peace Corps. And they were sent to Micronesia. And if you've never heard of that, they hadn't either. They were given a choice between Afghanistan and Micronesia, and they'd never heard of Micronesia, so they went with that one. Afghanistan was very unstable at the time, not unlike today, but for different reasons. Anyway, I was born. My mom got pregnant with me while they were living there, and I was born a couple of months after they got back to the States. My names are from their time in the Peace Corps. And so it's a big part of their time there is a big part of my life, because people also, you might have noticed, somewhat unusual names. So people always ask about that, and it comes up a lot. Okay, they were in this tiny, tiny, tiny island in Micronesia, like tiny. It had a mile of livable living space. And they spoke a language called Carolinian, which had at the time about 3,000 speakers, counting my parents. And Carolinian was not written at the time. It's actually grown a little bit since then, and people now, and you can write it out. But okay, I promise it all gets back to the tattoo. So when I was about your age, I was thinking about all this, wanting to get another tattoo, and I wanted one that recognized the kind of Micronesian Carolinian part of my past and the Jewish part of my present. And so I took a song that my dad had written about their time in the Peace Corps, about their time on the island, and I transliterated a line from it I sounded it out in Hebrew letters, and that's my tattoo. And what it says in English, it means it's so good to be here. And I thought that would be a good kind of reminder in life. In case I was ever unsure, things weren't going great, I could look at it all the time and see it, and it would remind me not just of that fact, but I'm lucky to be here, but of my parents also. It turned out, though, that it had an unintended consequence, which was that everybody wanted to talk about my tattoo. Everybody. I had people like shout at me across parking lots, follow me in department stores. Like strangers came up to me all the time. What's your tattoo say? What does it say? And if they were Jewish, they would try to read it and they couldn't. And then they'd be like, "What's it say?" I read Hebrew, but that's like, Anyway, I
used to make fun of her
Yeah,
incessantly
It's
about
true.
that when we were young.
So that one got obscured so that people would leave me alone.
It's still there, though.
It's still there. I had a artist put like vines and twisty stuff around it so that you can see it and you can see that it's letters, but only if you're close enough to me. So it cut down on the parking lot and department store people, which pretty much worked for me really well. Now I don't mind talking to people about it, but I prefer to talk to you about it if I know you or if I don't, and I'm giving a talk in front of several hundred college students. So where are we at on our list?
Well, it's my turn.
Okay.
When we met.
Do you want me to change?
No, not yet, I guess. When we met, she had that tattoo. We had this embarrassing conversation that we're not going to rehash here. And I was just one of those really lame people, at the time. But then to make up for it, I spent a good bit of time teasing her about this tattoo that no one could read, but that people kept trying. But we knew each other for just a short few months, and we had started dating after meeting at this birthday party for a guy that neither of us is still friends with, and really weren't friends with about like 3 weeks after the birthday party, but he's all right. And so we were dating, and we went back. I was going back to Texas, my nation of origin. We went back to Texas because I was going back for a variety of reasons, some of which need not be replayed, to visit family and friends and so forth in my first winter break at the college or at the university where we were getting our PhDs, and Jovi came with me. And so she met my father and my best friend, who's kind of like a brother to me. He and I grew up together, known him since I was 6. His mother is my semi-adopted mother. I mean, she's dear to me, dear. And so they're family. And we went back to visit people, and we were out in the night, and we walked by this tattoo parlor. Now, when people ask me about tattoos, I tell them, do not get a tattoo from the guy who can give you a tattoo right now, because that guy's not busy, and there's a reason that guy's not busy. It may be that guy's just new to the job, whatever else, but there might be other reasons why that guy's got some free time. And at the time, I didn't really know that. So we went into this tattoo parlor, not quite yet, because I had long been invested in the idea that the world is a magical and an enchanted place. It's an amazing place to be a part of. And I thought to myself, how is it that people have expressed to themselves, particularly men, since I had delusions of being a man myself, which is debatable even now and certainly was then. I had this idea that how do men express the amazingness of the cosmos, the universe, this shocking, wonderful place that we all find ourselves. And so we walked into this tattoo place, and I kind of drummed that down to, hey man, can you do like a cave painting bull?
You brought it with you. You had a picture with you.
And we had that bull in the middle, not the bison around it, just the orangey-ish colored bull, which actually isn't from a cave painting at all. I wanted a cave painting because cave paintings were 20, 30,000 years old, and I couldn't find a bull I quite wanted enough. So that's from a Minoan fresco. That's about 4,000 years old. And I just had just the bull. That was just it. Just this little tiny 2.5-inch bull sitting on my arm. And I had that done precisely because I think the world is an amazing and magical place. And how do we express that to ourselves? How do we express it to others? And so what could I do to share my appreciation for what a powerful universe it is in which we live?
But no one ever asks, what's the bull mean?
No, just what does yours say?
Yeah.
That's people in grocery stores, they'd say, that looks cool. And I'd say, thanks, and be on my way. And that was awesome. I would look at her and say, ha, ha. You know, we're just moving along.
Do I
But
change it yet? You're still talking about cave painting.
oh yeah, you could go ahead actually. So I subsequently, oh wait, is it still my turn?
Yeah, you.
Do I get 2 turns in a row? Sorry
Wait,
for the camera.
yeah, you do. You said, yeah.
Yeah.
So keep going. This
Yeah, it's awesome. So I probably wrote this outline to make sure I got a few extra turns in it. The thing is once upon a time, when you were coming of age as a young man, someone made you crawl through a cave in pitch blackness where you didn't know what was happening and you were banging into things and tripping over things. Stand up now, bump your head, crawl here. And then eventually someone lit a torch. And all around you was something kind of like the person, woo, out there. The lights, the lights flickered and the animals moved. And what was on the wall, these spirits that were so powerful to people, were alive. And so I wanted to express a little bit of that. And eventually that became a great deal of other tattoos, which weren't just about coming of age and secret caves and so forth. Eventually it was about the fact that I had a family. We had a small debate. We weren't quite sure. I think it's our 5th anniversary. 5th?
I thought it was, you thought 6th.
I thought it was 4th, and that was
no,
wrong.
You thought it was 6th.
4th was wrong.
No, I said 4th. You said 6th.
Who knows? We've been married a while now.
Somewhere around there.
We'd been married a while, and at some point you kind of wonder what you're going to give someone as a present. How do you say I love you in a way that's not just sort of trite the expenditure of money, but really about the spirit of who you are as a human being? And so here I was. We were living here in New York, and I was an assistant professor here, and Jovi said to me, for our anniversary, I thought you might like another tattoo. And I said, that's an awesome idea. Very romantic. Now you guys know what to do for your anniversaries. Your parents will be thrilled. You know, so I was ecstatic, though. I said, that's a fabulous idea. And my wife loves bears, so I went to the tattoo shop and had that bear on the upper left hand there done. And I got home and my kids said, when are you getting tattoos for us? I was home for like 20 seconds when they were asking for others. So I told them, if you can come up with a cool cave painting, that bear comes from Chauvet in France. And I said, you come up with an animal that I can come up with a cool cave painting for, we're going to do it. And my son asked for a horse. So from Lascaux is where that horse is. And actually the bull and horses around it are from Lascaux also, though they came later. And the bats, my daughter loves bats and always has. And so she asked for bats. And those bats are from an Australian cave painting, which Jovi actually found. I said, I'm not sure people paint bats in caves because they're already bats in the cave. You know, they're already there, so why would you paint it? But it turns out that in Australia, some people have painted bats into caves. So there are the bats in the upper right-hand corner. And for me, for years and years, some people have been around know I used to ride my bicycle to campus. And I could look at my wife and my kids as I rode my bicycle to campus.
Yeah, people might partially paint bats in caves in Australia because I think they mostly have food bats which roost on tree bark, not in caves.
That's why I keep that one around. Very nice. So for me, these tattoos are very much about my family relationships and my love of my family. And now it's your turn.
Now it's my turn.
After he stole a turn from you.
No, I
No,
just
he didn't
took
really.
2 in a
He
row.
just- yeah.
That's all.
More something else. S-
No. Set list doesn't give her 2 in a row.
So simultaneously, this is all sort of going on at the same time. I don't know whose idea it was to put all the people on ourselves. Actually, I'd say I started it because of the armband. I'll go with me. This was my idea. And so you can see the obscured armband in the far edge there. That's what it looks like now. So I had that. And I started thinking that I wanted to find ways to represent other parts of the family. Okay. And so I started doing that. I have, although this isn't quite right, because some of the slides here don't belong on this slide, because the knitting slide isn't the knitting. Anyway, so
Do the best you can.
Yeah, I'll do the best I can. My parents have planted trees for all of their grandchildren at their house. And when Zion was born, they planted a pomegranate tree. And when Liel was born, they planted a plum tree. And those are the only kids that are mine, so they're the only ones that matter right now. So I actually had my parents take pictures. My dad took a picture of a pomegranate from Zion's tree, the cut open pomegranate there, and sent that to me, and the plum blossoms from Liel's tree when it was in bloom, and sent those to me, and I took them to our tattoo artist, who's become a friend of ours at this point, and said, "These are the ones I want, JR." And so I have Liel as her plum blossoms and Zion as his pomegranate. And then a little while later, I thought that, you guys can't even see this one, I added some leaves from a pecan tree underneath the pomegranate, because that's Robert, because Texas and pecans, and they had a pecan tree at his house growing up, I think.
It's so touching.
I know, right?
She's really committed the story to memory.
It was important. It was important. He and his siblings used to eat the pecans right
We
off the
did.
tree. They were
We did.
delicious.
They were
Fresh.
terrific. Yeah, they were very.
Yeah, I know. And then I have on that same arm, there's a strawberry that you can sort of see at the bottom there. That is my maternal grandparents, the ones who went to the first Peace Corps generation in the family. They had, because I grew up in California, and you can grow strawberries just like randomly in your yard all the year round. And they did. And so when we were kids, we eat strawberries in their yard all the time. So I'm catching up. I've still got a lot of work to do to fit the whole family on. Actually, I've got a few other people that need space. But I also have the flower there on that same arm is what's called a Mythology poppy. And it's a kind of poppy that grows in certain eco-regions in Southern California, including the one that I'm from. It's this big, beautiful white flower. They stand about this tall.
You can tell from the tattoo.
Yeah, right?
Where
You can
it's
tell it's really like clear
blue.
there. It's blue. Everything's
Yeah.
blue. This color, our tattoo artist calls it Jovi Blue, and they stopped making it. And when they stopped, he was like, "I bought the rest of the bottles for you." So hopefully he's got enough for the rest of my plants, because otherwise I don't know what I'll do. Anyway, that's where my parents still live. So I have the Mythology poppy of my parents, the strawberry of my grandparents, the pomegranate of my son, the plums of blossom of my daughter, and the pecan tree of my husband. And then on my leg, this one, you can actually see this one on me, sort of. This one is a boysenberry bramble. Boysenberries are a combination of people, largely my brother, I guess, and my mom. When she was, we grow boysenberries. My parents, if you haven't noticed from the things I've said about them, are total hippies. They plant trees, they go to the Peace Corps, and they grow a lot of their own food, like a lot of their own food, and that's been the case for most of my life. And so boysenberries were always my favorite. When I was little, I would go out and just eat the berries off the bush, and I'd be supposed to be helping my mom, and she'd be picking them, and I'd be but also when she was in labor with my brother, she made boysenberry pie, and then after he was born, everybody had pie. So, and I love also pie. Pie is like the best ever. So I got through all of these plants. Robert uses cave paintings, and I use plants to represent the people and the places that have been most important and most formative to me. The tree, I guess we'll touch on, the tree is a California coastal live oak, which is a type of tree that, guess where it grows? On the coast of California, certain coasts of California. It's all of these things are about the place that I come from and that I don't live anymore. Your place is very nice, but it's not my home. And so since I don't think I'll ever get to live there again, I put it on me so that I can carry some of the native plants of this region with me all the time, because Zion was the 6th generation of my family born in this part of California. So we've been there for a long...
You never told me that.
I have, but you just weren't listening.
You don't listen to anything we tell you.
We've been there for a long, long time. And now that I'm not there, I feel these give me a connection that I have them always with me, not just the place, but the people that bind me to that place. So this is they're very, I guess, they're my family, and they're very individualistic.
So it's like 1,000,000 degrees in here,
so
and
hot.
we're really, don't worry, we're on
Yeah, we're
4
almost
out
done.
of 6, and 6 is really short. So things are good right now. The next story comes from when one time we were hanging out, and this is what religious studies professors do in their off time, is Jovi said to me, "What mythical god?"
It hates us. It's totally gone off of the
Whoa.
slideshow here. Oh, you talk
You
about
figured that out. She said, "What mythical god or mythical story mattered to you when you were a kid?" Because, of course, why do you end up a religious studies professor if it wasn't because you read these crazy, amazing stories and found them compelling and interesting? So she said, what mythical god was compelling to you as a kid and that you still find compelling? And so that's the kind of game we play at home after dinner. And I said, I thought for a little bit, and I said, Odin. Odin, the All-Father, the god who created the world in the Norse mythology. And we got pictures, right?
Dad,
Yeah.
Odin did not create the world. The giant gods before him.
No, Odin killed those gods and made the world out of it. That's how they used to do it back then.
You
And
should totally play this game at home.
yeah, it's a great game. And the thing with Odin as a god, it's not that he made the world, who cares, lots of gods have made the world. But what was really interesting to me about Odin as a figure is that Odin is a god of sacrifice. And for those of you who are a Christian, for example, you might sympathize with this as a theological idea. Odin is a god of sacrifice who sacrifices himself for knowledge and for wisdom. He hangs himself on the world tree for 9 days, and after dying, he resurrects himself with knowledge that none of the rest of us get to have because we haven't died and risen up from the dead. And what's profound about that is he then becomes the person who carries what he has learned to culture. He is, in the Norse mythology, not just the god of sacrifice, but the god of wisdom, the god of knowledge, and the god of sharing. And so he brings learning to the Norse people. And he had 2 ravens named Thought and Memory when you translate it to English. And the 2 ravens,
Wolves too.
he had 2 wolves too, but the ravens... He did give up one of his eyes also for knowledge. This is why I don't bring him to class with me. I'd never get the job done. I'm going to make him teach the classes one of these days. These ravens, Thought and Memory, share everything that's going on in the world with him. And he can then make the appropriate decisions as the father of the gods and the ruler of the world and so forth. And the ravens perch on his shoulder. So on my back, I had unfortunately far too small. I wish they were much bigger. And plus, on my back, I can't see them. It's a terrible place for a tattoo. But they're on my back. I have on the one side the raven for thought, and the other the raven for memory. And the noose is because Odin literally hanged himself on that tree. That was his sacrificial act. And in return for hanging himself and returning with knowledge that he shares with people, he demands sacrifice. And as a human being, I make sacrifices and I demand sacrifices. My poor unfortunate students know that while I will give to them, they have to give back to me. I won't be the only one in the room making sacrifices. They have to, right? And for me, that's an important part of what it means to get along in the world, to make a world that we all, can be happy we're a part of. So that was my half of that conversation. And then I let her talk for like 30 seconds afterwards.
My answer to the question, and of course I had it in mind when I asked him because that's the way these things go. You ask someone, so they'll ask you too, so you can tell them your brilliant idea. My answer was Anansi. Anansi is a spider from West African mythology, and because my mom's family had lived in Nigeria, I grew up with a lot of West African folk tales, including a lot of Anansi stories. And
do they know who? They're American folk tales that are based
true.
on all the Anansi stories.
Anansi
Anyone
stories
know?
got imported to the American South via slavery.
We could make Connor give them a shirt if they know.
Yeah, because you've got extra shirts because people didn't get some of them right.
Does anyone know who?
Stories.
There's like a guy with his.
Ivan?
No.
No, good
Good
guess,
call.
though.
Good call. There's a spider there.
Yeah, they should. Yeah. But, why is it hating on us?
I don't know.
That's okay. It's trying to. Got it. Okay. I'll just switch the slide.
It changed back.
Yeah, it did.
Oh.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. No, you have a guess. No.
No.
No, these are old Southern stories. Yeah. Amara.
No.
No. Maybe we should tell you it's not a spider.
It's actually a rabbit.
It's a rabbit. He gets.
No.
When Anansi comes to America, he becomes a rabbit. These things happen.
No, not the Easter Bunny. I think you're going to have to just go.
I guess Connor gets to keep his shirt. It's Brer Rabbit. Oh, did somebody say Brer Rabbit? All right. Brer Rabbit. Yeah. So, but Anansi is originally Anansi. So I have a spider. I have my Anansi. I got the spider because what Anansi represents.
Also your web.
Yeah, there's also a spider web in my oak tree because once wasn't enough. But that one doesn't show. It's very light, so it didn't show up well in the slide. Anansi is a trickster god. He's clever, and he gets by in the world on his wits and by tricking people, and not always nicely. It's just that this is like Robert's all like sacrifice and give to everybody, and I'm like trick them and take their things.
Not sure what that says about our marriage.
Yeah. It's probably best not to think about it too much, dear. No, but Anansi is not. He does trick people and take their things, but he usually tricks the bad people. Tiger is his main opponent in the stories, and often what he steals from Tiger.
Excuse me, but I think it's Brer Fox's main opponent.
No, not Anansi's.
That's in the Brer Rabbit world, though. There's a fox for the rabbit.
Frequently what he steals from Tiger or from whoever it is are things that he shares. Sometimes he keeps them all for himself because Anansi's also very greedy. But he shares what he gets with his family and with other people. And one of the main things that Anansi steals from Tiger in the mythology are the stories. Tiger used to have all the stories, and the stories were dark, and the stories were about blood, and the stories were about fear. And Anansi tricked Tiger and stole the stories from him. And when Anansi stole the stories became about Anansi and about how great Anansi was, but also about joy and about laughter and about dancing and about eating and the things that Anansi loves. And I say, actually kind of probably more often than is right, all the stories are Anansi's. And so
We can hope.
we can hope all the stories are Anansi's, because the Anansi stories are much, much better than the tiger stories. So I have Anansi twice because Anansi is my favorite of those from my childhood and from my family. Again, can't get away from the family one. But who can?
So we're at like the conclusion.
Do I change the slide yet?
If you want, it has nothing to do with our tattoos. It was just a pretty picture.
Okay.
But
People like pictures.
yeah,
That's nothing. Yeah. Nothing.
yeah, no, that guy's actually a New York artist. He's really quite gifted. But what was interesting to me and what I
We
tried,
should have had a picture of that guy
that
in
guy.
India. That was 2 years ago.
Oh,
today,
I
too.
wanted that
Totally
picture, but
should
I didn't
have.
get it.
You don't have it on.
Some random guy in India took pictures of our
This
tattoos.
relates
We were
to
very
the story,
popular
to
in
where
India.
you're going with this, though. In
Is
fact,
it?
yeah. Well, it says our personal lives in public art.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't have. Again, that's why I have her around, is because I'm limited.
Part
You
of
want
the
to tell
thing
that real quick?
Yeah, I'll tell this. I'm actually going to take your point now, too. I think it's your point. Part of the thing about having a lot of tattoos in particular, and those of you who have tattoos have probably experienced this, is that it does kind of, in some sense, make you public art, possibly public property in some regard, because people they'll stare at you, right? And they'll look at your arm and they'll talk to you, even if you don't have weird Hebrew letters. And they want to know what it's about, and it kind of dissolves some of your personal barriers. So if you like your personal barriers a lot, I don't recommend getting a lot of visible tattoos. This is something we experience here pretty frequently. I mean, you guys are some of the nicer examples of that. But also when we lived in India, we were like celebrities. People loved our tattoos, and there's an old India has tattooing culture. It's usually a village thing. It's frequently at this point associated with grandmothers, so it's not super cool. But it's becoming
Growing cool.
It is. It's growing. And so people would come up to us all the time in India to ask about the tattoos. They'd also rub my tattoos in particular because they don't have the black ink, the black lines on them. And there we go again.
It doesn't matter.
People thought they were painted or drawn on, and so I'd get a lot of like, and then exactly apparently I'm reminded that 2 years ago today when we were in India, this guy he drove past us on his motorcycle but slowly, and then he stopped and turned around and came back, and he asked Robert if he could take pictures of his tattoos. Not me, because men and women who don't know each other,
that would have been too personal.
It would have been too personal for him to come talk to me like right off the bat. So Robert said yes, and so he took all these pictures of Robert's tattoos and chatted with him, and then he was feeling brave, so he asked me if he could take pictures of my tattoos also. And I said yes too, and so he took, like, some guy in India took a whole bunch of pictures of our tattoos, like all angles. Like
I had a
around,
busload of
like
little
this,
kids shaking
like,
my hand.
Yeah, a bunch of school kids. Like one of them
time.
came up to Robert and like touched his tattoos and then shook his hand, and then they were on a field trip. I don't know what their teacher thought, but they all like lined up to shake his hand.
It was pretty awesome.
And it was a really different reaction. People's reactions to us in India were really pretty positive. They were very overwhelmingly positive to our tattoos, and that's not always the case here.
Might be my beard, might be that, I don't know. But I once was in a colleague's class, and she, like me, teaches the religion and body class. And she remarked that tattoos might be a way of covering the body. And I said, I think for a lot of people that's probably true. But for a lot of people, tattoos are about making naked the soul. Whatever is internal to you, one might actually express it on oneself. And for me and for Jovi, what we have covered ourselves in is not an attempt to hide who we might be, but rather an attempt to share who we are. Thanks.
And to not immortalize, because that's not going to work, but to permanentize at some level the things that are the most important to us in the world. As part, for me anyway, the kind of reminder of what I want to be because of the people and the places that are important to me.
And the stories
and
and the
stories
meaning
that
and
are
the
important to me, and the
sacrifice
songs
and the
that
loved
are important
ones.
to me, and the things that people have done to put me where I am today.
So for us, our tattoos are about who we are deep inside, and we believe that others might find other ways to share who they are deep inside. And for each and every one of you, that will be a quest that you will live out day in and day out for the rest of your lives. How do you share who you are? How do you be who you want to be? And how do you make the most important things possible in your worlds?
That's all.
Thank you.